Today I'm going to show you how to use this awesome math website called TenMarks. So if you do not already have an account, you will hit sign up. But since I already have an account, I am just going to log right on in. When you log in, it will give you two options: to prepare and deliver lessons or to create assignments. I choose to create assignments, and I use this as a supplemental program to what I am doing in my math block. So I'm just going to hit continue. And it brings you to your dashboard. Your dashboard shows you what's happening in your class, what's going on with your students. You can look at your roster. You can download your parent letters again. Shows any assignments you have due, any jam sessions, which I'll explain later in the video. Any jam sessions your students have completed. And it also shows you on the sidebar just some of the standards you're working with. So I'm going to show you how to add and create classes. So to add a class, you're going to hit up here in the left-hand corner, add class. You are going to start by selecting the grade. For all purposes, I'm going to click grade 4, but you click whatever grade you're teaching. And then the curriculum will pop up, and it has your domains: operations and algebraic thinking, numbers and operations in base 10, numbers and operations fractions, measurement and data, and geometry. And if you hit the little plus bars, it breaks it down to even more into the standards and standard descriptions. So this is the curriculum you'll be working with, which aligns to the Common Core, and then you name your class. And for all purposes, I am going to name my class 4th grade 2015 to 2016, and then I'll hit next. Then it says your class has been successfully created, and now it's time to add students. If you have your student's name in a Word document or on a roster, you can actually just copy and paste them right into this box. Just make sure there's a semicolon in between each name. But for all purposes, I'm just going to add some names: John Smith, semicolon, Jane Jones, semicolon, Rob Brooke, semicolon. And then you just have to hit that you agree that these are your students and that you're in a school official, and you hit done. And here's your roster. Of course, I made up all of these names for purposes of showing you how to add a roster. You can add students if you get new students. You can delete students if the student moves. Here is where you can click to download your roster. I recommend doing this. You get a printout with their username and their password. You also get student cards you can give to the students so they have their username and password. Just makes it a lot easier. You can also download parent letters, because the great thing about this website is students can access it at home and use it. And they have an English-only version, a Spanish-only version, or you can actually have it printed in both English and Spanish, which helped me greatly because I do have a lot of Spanish-speaking families in my classroom. So here's just a little parent letter that explains what TenMarks is in both English and Spanish and provides the parents with their child's username and password. So I do recommend printing those out. Okay, once you set up your class, now it's time to assign some work. So you're going to hit the work button, and here you have class assignments, and you're going to create assignment. So click the button. And what I like to do is I like to find my questions by domain. So if I hit find by domain, my domains open up. So currently right now in 4th grade, we're working on fractions. So I'm going to click the fraction domain, and then I'm going to click what standards I'd like to assign to my students. So we've done equivalent fractions, so I'm going to add that in. We have done creating equivalent fractions, and we have done comparing fractions. So I'm going to start with those 3 standards for my students to work on. Hit the X button. Then you can decide how many practice problems you want to have your students work on. 10 problems per standard, or what they call track, or 20 problems. It's up to you. I'm just going to leave it at 10 problems, and then you have due a due date. So for all purposes, I'm going to pick April 1st, and I always click allow submission after due date because I want my students to just at least try. I don't want there to be a time limit on it, since this is, especially if I assign this at home or just as extra practice. You can also preview the questions before you start. So here are just some example questions. Looking at the number lines in the pictures, choose all the correct statements. Looking at the models, seeing which statement is correct. There's actually ones where they have to type in their response, and there's a little box they can click to get their less than, greater than, or equal to signs. So just preview the questions, and you can hit back to make changes. So if there's a standard you thought you wanted to use but you don't, you can click it off. But I liked all three standards, so I'm going to hit create. And now my problems have been assigned. So I'm going to show you how you can look at reports for your students who are completed. So I'm just going to switch over to another demo class I created. And I assigned the same three standards. And if I go over to reports, here it tells me how the students have done. So both students have completed identifying equivalent fractions using visuals. And there's a key. The red dot means they got 0 to 59.9% correct. The yellow dot means they got 60 to 79.9% questions correct. And the green dot means they got 80 to 100% correct. And then if there's a gray dot next to their name, it means they haven't completed that as standard yet. So if you look here, Jane Jones got 97.5% correct, and John Smith fell into that 0 to 59.9% range. So this shows me that, Jane's got a good grasp on this standard, but John might need some more additional practice. So this is a great tool for teachers to use because it breaks it down by standard. So now if we go into jam sessions, you can click any skill range you want your students to work on. So say they just need a little extra practice in multiplying 1-digit and 3-digit numbers. You can set that up for the week of, I'm going to set it up for the week of March 13th, and then hit apply. And then when the students log into their account, they will see that there is a jam session assigned to them, and you can click all students, or you might just want to click the one student. So for example, John Smith had trouble with those fractions. You can just assign him to a jam session for finding equivalent fractions, and then it will pop up. And if you click the little info button, jam sessions allow your students to practice their core skills with randomly generated questions. So jam sessions pretty cool to use. So if you go back to your home page, here is just all of your assignments that you have created, any jam sessions that you've assigned, and that's just your basic overview of TenMarks. Hope you enjoyed it.